أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Respected scholars, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salawatullahi alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. These words were uttered by the great Allam al-Hilli in the presence of a group of Sunnis. Allam al-Hilli was one of the most famous theologians of our traditions. And when he recited salawat after the mentioning of the name of Ali, there were some Sunnis in the gathering who objected to this. They said to him that saying sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen is not appropriate because this is something that is exclusive to prophets. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala al-Nabi. Why don't you say radiyallahu an? He's one of the companions of the Prophet. Why is it that when you mention Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, you say salawatullahi alayhim? May God's salutations be upon all of them. You should say may God be pleased with them, just like we say about all of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een. Allam al-Hilli, rahmatullahi alayh, he had a very deep knowledge of the Quran. And he said to the attendees, I can prove to you using the Quran that you can say salawatullahi alayh after mentioning any of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt from the Quran. So they said, bring the evidence from the Quran that it is permissible and it is suitable to send salutations upon the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. How can you extrapolate this from the Quran? He said to them, do you agree that Ali ibn Abi Talib and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, do you agree that they were patient people? That they were people of sabr? They said yes. Would you agree that they are not only patient, but they are the epitome of patience? They agreed. Allam al-Hilli, he cites ayah 156 and 157 of Surah Al-Baqarah. الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. The famous ayah where Allah describes the mindset of the patient. Those who, when they are afflicted with a calamity, they say, to Allah we belong and to Him we shall return. What is the reward of such people? أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. Upon such people are salutations from their Lord. This is why whenever we mention our a'imma, we send salawat upon them. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So we want to continue our discussion from last night. We spoke about the concept of rujula in the Quran, the concept of masculinity. As we mentioned, there are many verses in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the expression rijal, the term rijal. Last night we mentioned min al-mu'minina rijalun, from among the believers there are men, to contrast with those who are male who lack the qualities of masculinity. Min al-mu'minina rijalun. And we mentioned last night that in the battle of Khaybar, the Prophet sent the first, the second, they failed. They did not show bravery and courage and resilience. When they came back, Rasulullah says, tomorrow, لَأُعْطِيَنَّ الرَّايَةَ غَدًا رَجُلًا يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Tomorrow, I will give the standard to a rajul. I will give it to a man. Someone who embodies true masculinity, and that was none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen. So we have ayat in the Quran that speak about the qualities of rijal. Now, when you look at the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt, you find that there are other terms that are used to describe manliness, and among them is the term al-muru'ah. Al-muru'ah comes from the word al-mar. Al-mar means a man. Al-muru'ah is manliness. So we have many ahadith where the Imams of Ahlul Bayt explain the meaning of manliness. And inshallah we'll cover some of those traditions tonight. We also have the term futuwa. Futuwa, it literally means chivalry. And futuwa is very important. It's a lost concept in this day and age. This idea of facilitating the transition of a boy into manhood. You know, past civilizations used to have rites of passage. The ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, they used to actually initiate their boys into manhood. This doesn't exist today. And this is one of the problems. We need to revive this concept of futuwa, teaching boys how to become men. Now, before we look at the traditions where the Imams speak about muru'ah, there's another ayah of the Quran that is important for us to reflect on if we want to understand the Quranic conception of rujula. So last night we mentioned the ayah from Surah Al-Ahzab, مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ. One of the most important qualities of a real man is that they are true to their covenants. And the most important covenant in the life of a man is his covenant with his Lord. A man has to live a life of purpose. You are not considered a real man if you are living an aimless life. A man is someone, and this ayah was revealed in the context of Uhud. Men have to develop within themselves the spirit of sacrifice. For a man, the way that a man should think is not, what do I get? The mindset should be, what can I give? A man is supposed to be a giver, a servant leader. We spoke about that last night. The ayah that I want to begin our discussion tonight with is Surah An-Nisa. You know, it's interesting that one of the most important ayat about rujula is found in Surah An-Nisa, which highlights that one of the most important dimensions of rujula is how you relate and interact with women. If you want to see a true man, observe the way he interacts with women, especially his wife, especially the women folk of his family. This is a very accurate indicator if the individual has rujula or no rujula. What is the ayah that we want to look at? Ayah 34 of Surah An-Nisa. Allah says, الرجال قوامون على النساء. This ayah, unfortunately, is often misused and misunderstood. And sometimes it is even weaponized by men who are abusive. They use this verse to assert their dominance. But the ayah is not speaking about superiority or dominance. Allah says, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. Qawwam is the term that Allah uses to describe true rijal. They are qawwam. Qawwam is the intensive form of qama, to stand. You know, when you want to do something, when you want to take care of business, when you want to manage affairs, you rise up, you stand. Men are described as those who stand. They are not just, it's not just qama or qa'im or qayyim, it's qawwam. Men are the maintainers and the protectors of women. Why? بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Allah made men. This is the ideal. Unfortunately, there are many males who do not live up to the dictates of this ayah. Allah says men are the maintainers of women. This is not about superiority of one gender over the other. Allah says, because you men, I have given you certain qualities, physiological qualities, cognitive qualities, that make you more suitable to play the role of provider and protector. So this is really a job description. Being a man entails that you have a duty. It's not a hierarchy. See, the problem is some read this ayah and they think men are above women in the sense of a hierarchy. Here Allah is saying that no, you are the protectors and the providers, the maintainers of women, because Allah has given you certain qualities that make you the ideal candidate for this role. Yes, a woman can work, a woman can provide, but the toll, the psychological toll that it takes on a woman is not the same as a man. Yes, a woman can work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And a man can also work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want to give that burden to a woman because she was not built to carry that weight. She can do it, but you shouldn't allow her to carry that weight. You are better fit for that burden. If you look at the Sharia, look at the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a woman goes through her menstrual cycle, Allah relieves her of salah. Salah, which is so easy. It takes a few minutes to do salah. When a woman is in that psychological state, when her body is undergoing those changes, Allah, the merciful Lord, says, these 5 daily prayers, I am lifting them off of your shoulders. If Allah relieves them of salah, why is it that modern societies want them to carry the same weight as men? Work 9 to 5 and function as if you're a man. الرجال قوامون على النساء. You find that even if a woman is wealthy, the Sharia says you as the man, you have to still provide. Why? Because your ability to provide is intrinsically connected to your sense of worth as a man. There is nothing that is more emasculating for a man than to lose that ability to provide. So even if a woman is rich, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still wants you to provide, because that is what a man is supposed to do. If you excuse yourself of that role, now of course there are always going to be special circumstances. You know, sometimes a man might be sick, maybe he can't work. Like We have an example of Ayub, Prophet Ayub. He became ill and his wife had to work. You know, for those of you who read the story of Ayub alayhi salam, Ayub was a man of great ghira. He was a man's man. He became so ill that his wife, who happened to be from the descendants of Yusuf alayhi salam, she's from a prophetic family. For Ayub, it was very difficult for him to see his wife, who comes from this noble family, that she is now carrying the weight of being the breadwinner. And do you know when Ayub could not take it anymore? When she sold her locks, she started to sell her hair to provide for her family. This is when he turned to Allah. Rabbi inni massani al-dhur wa anta arhamur rahimin. For a man, and that's why it's very important, especially for youngsters. When you read these ayat, these verses are telling you what your role is to be in the future. Which means you should not be playing PS5 for 9 hours a day. You need to acquire the skills that are needed to provide for your future wife and your future kids. You shouldn't waste time. Spending hours and hours on social media, playing video games, this is not going to make you into a man. It's going to make you into a loser. Honestly. You're going to end up living in your mother's basement until you're 47 years old, and then you're going to come to me, Sheikh, can you help me get married? And I'm going to say, no, I cannot help you. الرجال قوامون على النساء. It's interesting that the term qawwam is related and it's connected to one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is Al-Qayyum. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. One of the names of Allah is Al-Qayyum. It's the same root as Qawwam. When we say that Allah is Al-Qayyum, it means what? Allah is the provider. He provides for His creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He provides in a very comprehensive way. Allah doesn't only just provide you food. He provides you with all of your needs. It's a type of care that is based on His mercy. It's a comprehensive care. And hence, when you look at the ayah, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ, when we say that men, real men are the maintainers and the protectors and the providers, we're not just talking about paying the bills or providing food, providing clothes. That's a part of it. But that's not all your responsibility is. As the father, as the husband, you also have to provide for the spiritual needs of your family, the emotional needs of your family. You should not be an absentee father, an absentee husband. You should be there. Your family needs more than your credit card. They need you. They need your presence. They need to see you. There is nothing more damaging than being an absentee father. A lot of the problems that I see in young girls and young boys, a lot of it is connected to the void that they feel because of the absence of parents. That's why a lot of our sisters, they get into very problematic relationships because they're trying to fill that void. Don't create that void as a father. Don't create that void in the life of your son. Be there. Be that spiritual leader. See yourself as the leader of the tribe. Your family is your tribe. You're the leader of the tribe. And you're not there to be served. You are a servant leader. You're at the service of your family. Look at Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi alayhi. La basallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Amir al-Mu'mineen when he was the Khalifa. Don't tell me that I'm too busy. Don't tell me I have work. I know you have work. Amir al-Mu'mineen when he was the Khalifa, he used to spend some of his nights with his daughters. Amir al-Mu'mineen, if there's anyone who could have said, I'm too busy, it was Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's the Khalifa, he's dealing with Muawiyah and Khawarij, he has a lot of problems. But yet, he makes time to spend some of the nights of Ramadan with Kulthum, with Zainab alayhi salam. This is an important part of rujula, to be there, to be present. This is part of what it means to be a man. And this is not your feminine side as a man. No, that is part of your masculine side. This was part of Ali's masculine side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, when He addresses the believers, He says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe. And the primary addressees are the believing men. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. O you who believe, shield yourselves and your families from the fire. You have to protect them from spiritual harm. That's your duty. You have to protect them from emotional harm. And one of the most damaging things that you can do is to neglect your family. To be physically, and some men, they're physically present, but mentally they're absent. They're not there. Their body is there, but they're somewhere else. Amir al-Mu'mineen was present when he was with his family, when he was with his children, and especially when he was with Sayyidah Fatima salawatullahi alayha. Part of what it means to be a man is to provide emotionally for the women folk of your family. I'll share with you one statement from Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is after the death of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. After her martyrdom, Amir al-Mu'mineen was saying this in public. He says, reflecting on the memory of his wife, he says, وَلَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَنظُرُ إِلَيْهَا فَتَنْكَشِفُ عَنِّي الْهُمُومُ وَالْأَحْزَانُ. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, when I used to look at Fatima, when I used to just look at her, not talk to her, just glancing at her, all of my sorrows, all of my grief, it dissipates. It vanishes. You know, when you read these words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, you ask yourself, if this is what Ali says in public about Fatima, if this is the love he shows her in public, imagine how affectionate Ali was in private. This is rujula. This is masculinity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. You are the protectors, the maintainers. In your household, when it's the time of salah, you should be the one who brings out the sajjada. You should be, as the father, as the husband, you should recite adhan in your home. You know, it's very sad. And Sayyid Ahmed can attest to this. Whenever we have a class, whether it's fiqh, aqa'id, tariq, the overwhelming majority of the attendees are sisters. It's as if the brothers feel like they have no responsibility to learn their religion, to be leaders, to be spiritual leaders of the family. This is part of your duty. We have a narration where Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, salawatullahi alayhi, he was asked, Ya ibn Rasulillah, mal muru'ah? What is manliness? Is manliness to get a Cuban cigar? To do the most push-ups? To get a tattoo of Dhul Fiqar? What is manliness? To have an exotic car? Who has the most girlfriends? Is this rujula? This is not rujula. Imam, he says, look at how Ahlul Bayt change the mentality of the people. We're not looking for this superficial, fake manliness. We're looking for real manliness. What is it? He says, شُحُّ الرَّجُلِ عَلَى دِينِهِ. The first thing that Imam mentions to describe manliness, he says, a real man is protective over his religion. If something is very precious to you, imagine you have something that's very precious. Let's say you have a fancy watch. It's very precious to you. And someone comes and grabs it and takes it, and you don't do anything about it. What would people say about you? You're a coward. You're not a real man. You let people take away things that are precious. Someone comes and grabs your wife and runs with her. You don't do anything? You don't guard what is precious? The most precious thing that you have is your religion, your relationship with Allah. How could you allow your religion to be taken from you? Your deen to be compromised. You should be more protective over your religion than anything. This is rujula. شُحُّ الرَّجُلِ عَلَى دِينِهِ. And then what does the Imam say? وَإِصْلَاحُهُ مَا لَهُ. A real man makes sure he manages and he ensures that his wealth is pure. You're not a man just because you can make money. Imam says, no. A real man is the one who can earn halal money. That is rujula. Who cares? Someone says, oh, this guy is a millionaire. Yeah, but how much of it is halal? Who cares? That doesn't mean anything. That is not a true metric of rujula. Why is it important for you to earn halal money? It's because if you earn haram money, you are engaging in self-destructive behavior. And a real man does not self-destruct. When you earn haram money and you buy groceries and you spend haram money on your family, you're feeding them something that's harmful to them. So how are you قوامون على النساء? How are you a provider, a protector of your family if you are feeding them something that is harmful, which is haram income? وَإِصْلَاحُهُ مَا لَهُ. You have to purify your wealth. You have to know ahkam. You have to know what is halal, what is haram. And then the Imam says, وَقِيَامُهُ بِالْحُقُوقِ. Manliness is to uphold the rights of people, not to take away the rights of people. Some, they think that I'm a man because I can maneuver and I can manipulate and I can cheat. No, it's not. That's not rujula. This is cowardice. A real man is someone who observes the huquq. People come to you when they want their rights. You are seen as a refuge for mazlumeen. You're not an aid of the zalimin. You're not an aid for the oppressors. You're a refuge for the oppressed. This is manliness. We have another narration where Imam al-Hasan is being asked by his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, about manliness. And this is very beautiful. These are conversations that have to happen. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib asks his son, Ya bunay mal muru'a. Oh my son, what is manliness? This conversation has to happen between fathers and sons. How many fathers have sat their sons down and had a frank conversation about what it means to be a real man? This is what Ali used to do. He used to talk to his sons. He asks his son, tell me, what is your understanding of what a real man is? Look at what Imam al-Mujtaba says. He highlights the lost virtues of real men. When you think of what a real man is, what a man's man is, what comes to mind? Look at what Imam says. He says, al-afaf. Imam al-Mujtaba, the first thing he mentions is modesty, chastity. You would think that, oh, are we talking about femininity or masculinity? No, Imam says, no, this is masculinity. Manliness is to have a little bit of shyness with non-mahram women. Some brothers need to really cool it down. A bit too bold and comfortable with the opposite gender. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he came to Rasulullah to ask for the hand of Fatima, a purely halal endeavor, he sits beside the Prophet. Salaamu alaykum, alaykum as-salam. Ya Ali, have you come for something? The narrations say that Amir al-Mu'mineen was too shy to ask for the hand of Fatima. It's good to be shy. We have to have a little bit of haya. This is afaf. Of all of the men, who did Rasulullah trust to escort the Fawatim from Mecca to Medina? Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because a real man can be trusted with women. He doesn't send others, he sends Ali. And this is before the marriage of Ali and Fatima. Ali is there escorting his mother, the daughter of the Prophet, the daughter of Hamza. Because Ali ibn Abi Talib is Ameen. You know, in the Quran, Allah, He describes Musa. He's qawiyun ameen. Yes, we know physical strength is important, but you know what else is important? Moral strength. You are trustworthy, not just with money. You're trustworthy with people's daughters. You're trustworthy with other women. Imam says, al-afaf. There needs to be a little bit of formality. A real man doesn't sit around with girls smoking shisha and laughing. I'm sorry, I know I'm in Dearborn and these are controversial statements. But the truth is the truth. This is not rujula. Ali ibn Abi Talib, our Ummah, they weren't sitting around laughing and giggling with women. This is not rujula. This is what Muawiyah does. This is a different camp. We have a narration from Imam al-Sadiq salawatullahi alayh. He says, كان رسول الله يسلم على النساء ويرددن عليه السلام. The Prophet used to say salam to women and the women would respond. وكان أمير المؤمنين. You know, sometimes the Prophet teaches you something and then Ali ibn Abi Talib might give you another lesson that you need to learn. وَكَانَ أَمِيرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يُسَلِّمُ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. Ali used to also greet women. He used to say salam to them. وَكَانَ يَكْرَهُ أَنْ يُسَلِّمْ عَلى الشَّابَّةِ مِنْهُنْ. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he used to say salam to women, but it was not his habit to initiate salam with young ladies. Because Ali, he has that shyness. You might say it's mustahab to say salam. Yes, it's mustahab. But sometimes the mustahab ends up, you're sitting at Starbucks with this non-mahram girl and by the way, you shouldn't go to Starbucks. We have to, maybe Dunkin' Donuts, I don't know. Maybe they're all boycotted, I don't know. Sometimes you might think, and this is how shaitan works, he gets you through mustahab and then you're in the depths of haram. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's teaching us that a true man exercises caution, especially when it comes to younger ladies. You shouldn't kid yourself. There is a natural attraction between men and women. You have to understand this. And it's a very noble quality to be reserved when you interact with the opposite gender. There's an interesting narration that we find in Wasa'il al-Shia. This is one of our most important hadith collections on Islamic law. This narration, many of you might be familiar with Abu Basir. Abu Basir was one of the distinguished companions of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam and Imam al-Sadiq. The narration says, it's from him. He's reporting this incident. He says, كنت أقرئ امرأة كنت أعلمها القرآن. Abu Basir, who was, incidentally, he was blind. He says that I used to teach a lady Quran. He was a Quran teacher for a lady. فَمَازَحْتُهَا بِشَيْءٍ. He says, one day, I was joking with her during class. It's a Quran class. I don't know how he slipped in a joke, but he slipped in a joke. Right. It's the ancient way of sliding into DMs. So, he said, I was joking with her. فَقَدِمْتُ عَلَىٰ أَبِي جَعْفَرٍ. And then later I went to visit Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. Now we know in our theology that our A'imma alayhimus salam, they receive the record of our a'mal. They know what you've been up to. They know about all of your likes on social media. Sometimes I think, man, how embarrassing is it for us that every week you like this post, you like that post. This is what the Imam has to read about our behavior on social media. So in any case, he goes to the Imam, and the Imam alayhi salam, he says to him, أَيُّ شَيْءٍ فَعَلْتَ. He says, أَيُّ شَيْءٍ فَعَلْتَ. What did you do? He says, أَيُّ شَيْءٍ قُلْتَ لِلْمَرْأَةِ. What did you say to that lady? The narration says, فَغَطَّيْتُ وَجْهِي. Abu Basir, he said, I covered my face in shame. That the Imam knew. He knew what I did. Look at what Imam al-Baqir says. Without mincing any words, he says, لا تعودن إليها. You're not allowed to go back and teach her. Our Imams, they have zero tolerance for this behavior. If you cannot control yourself, if you don't have discipline, if you cannot control your impulses, take yourself out of these environments. This is rujula. The Imams did not accept this type of behavior from their students, from their companions. Now, what I'd like to do, brothers and sisters, I want to share with you an ayah of the Quran. And the ayah, and you can open up your phone, and I hope you have a Quran app in addition to all of the other apps that you have. Surah Taha, Surah 20, Ayah 9, and Ayah number 10. 2 verses. From these 2 verses, together, we're going to extrapolate 10 principles of manliness from this ayah. And this hopefully will inspire you to engage more with the Quran. One ayah, yes, one ayah, we can derive many lessons on the concept of rujula. Now, what is the ayah? وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى. Allah is speaking to the Prophet. Has the story of Musa come to you? Are you familiar with the story of Musa? And then Allah says what in the next ayah? إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا. To give you a little bit of context, many of you, if not all of you, are familiar with the story of Musa in the Quran. We know that he killed a Coptic in Egypt. He had to flee. He stayed with Shu'aib for 10 years. He got married to the daughter of Shu'aib. He worked the farm. And then after 10 years, he decided that it's time to go back to Egypt. He felt a sense of responsibility towards Bani Israel. They're still being subjugated by Fir'aun. So he takes his family and they're traveling from Midian back to Egypt. He gets lost in the middle of the desert as they are traveling. It's nighttime, so imagine there's no MapQuest or GPS. They're in the middle of the desert. No, it's pitch black. You're walking through the desert, wild animals, it's freezing. You have your wife, your children with you. He says to his family, I see a fire. He was the only one who could see the fire. No one else could see it. The first principle of rujula is that a man needs to be hyper vigilant and aware of his surroundings. You shouldn't be oblivious. Musa doesn't have tunnel vision. He is able to see the distant fire. إِنِّي إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا قَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا. The first principle is a man has to be aware. You have to have awareness. You need to be vigilant. This is number one. Number two, he says what? فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا. He says to his family, stay here. The first thing that comes to mind is what? His family. He thinks about his family first. One of the most important qualities of a man is they have a family first mentality. This is the second quality of rujula. The third is Musa alayhi salam assesses the risks and the dangers. Part of being a man means that you have to do some risk evaluation, risk assessment. It is dangerous to leave the family in the middle of this open desert at night. And it's also dangerous to climb up this mountain and go to an unknown destination. But what is more dangerous? Taking them into the unknown or keeping them where they are? There are two dangers. He chooses the lesser of the two dangers. Musa alayhi salam, as a man, he is able to assess danger levels. Okay. The next thing that we find is he says to his family, wait here. I'm going to go up that mountain because maybe I can get some firewood or some guidance. Notice that there is one person who makes the final decision. Have you ever heard of the expression, too many chefs spoil the soup? In a family, you need one person who's going to make the final decision. He is that unified, singular voice. He provides that leadership. He takes that initiative. He is managing this crisis. He doesn't delegate it to someone else. فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا. The next principle of rujula in the ayah is a real man as a leader, he consults and he explains the rationale behind his decisions. He's explaining why he's going up to the mountain. He doesn't just say, stay here, I'll be back. He doesn't leave them in the dark. He explains the rationale. He is consultative. Because if you don't, your family will forgive you for making poor decisions, but they won't forgive you for not consulting. He consults, he explains. He explains the rationale because he wants to build their confidence in him. He offers that rationale. And he also speaks to everyone in the family who's going to be affected by this decision. He doesn't just speak to his wife. فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِ. He says to his entire family. He speaks to everyone who is going to be impacted by the decision. Notice that he says what? فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ He says, فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِمْ كُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا لَعَلِّي آتِيكُم مِّنْهَا بِقَبَسٍ أَوْ أَجِدُ عَلَى النَّارِ هُدًى. He says, I'm going to go up to this fire because maybe I will get some firewood or some guidance. What we learn here, my dear brothers and sisters, is that one of the qualities of a real man is that he does not promise what is not assured. He doesn't say, for sure, I'm going to get firewood. For sure, I'm going to get guidance. He says, لَعَلِّي, maybe. He's very careful with his words. He doesn't overpromise. There is nothing that diminishes your credibility as a man more than unfulfilled promises. He says, لَعَلِّي آتِيكُمْ مِنْهَا بِقَبَسْ أَوْ أَجِدُ عَلَى النَّارِ هُدًى. Next, you see that he prioritizes. He's not only able to assess risk, he also understands which needs are more of a priority. He says, maybe I will bring back some firewood, or I will find some directions. What is more of a priority when you're in the middle of the night, a winter night? The immediate need is what? Warmth and fire. A secondary need is what? Direction, so we can find our way. He is able to prioritize the needs. He's in tune. Another principle of rujula in this ayah is that he's optimistic. He's not the one who's saying, guys, we're lost. We're going to die in the middle of the desert. Every man for himself. He's not pessimistic. He says, maybe I'll get some firewood. Maybe I can find some guidance. He keeps in mind that I have to keep the morale of my family high. He doesn't have this negative, pessimistic mentality. This is the job of a rajul. You have to provide that morale. You have to be an optimistic realist. You can be a realist, but be optimistic. Be hopeful. And then finally, what does he do? He says, inni, right? He takes responsibility for this decision. He consults. But by saying inni, and then I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go do that, he's essentially highlighting that standing up and assuming leadership necessitates that I bear the responsibility if things go wrong. The buck stops with you. This is the meaning of rujula. You see, one ayah of the Quran, there is so much that we can extrapolate. And I'll end with this, my dear brothers and sisters. Another important quality of a man is the things that occupy your thoughts. What actually bothers you in life? What disturbs you? Are you the type of guy where it's the end of the world if I don't get the meal that I want, or if I'm not driving the car that I want? Are these the things that really bring you down and make you upset? The things that bother you and irritate you indicate how big you are as a man or how small you are as a man. In Nahjul Balagha, Sermon 27, it's a very sad khutbah. And the context of it is that after the Battle of Siffin, Muawiyah starts to send tribes throughout Iraq to pillage villages and towns. He's trying to disrupt security in the government of Amir al-Mu'mineen. One of these tribes, they raid a village. And these men, Muawiyah's men, they steal the ankle bracelets and the necklaces and the earrings of Muslim women and non-Muslim women. When Amir al-Mu'mineen receives news that this village was pillaged, Imam alayhi salam, he says that news has reached me that a city was pillaged by a certain tribe, and they snatched away the jewelry of women. And these poor women, they were so helpless that all they could do was cry out, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un," and beg for mercy. And then the Imam, he shifts his attention to the men who were living in that village. He says, ثُمَّ انصَرَفُوا وَافِرِينَ, that these men, they came, they violated these women. They didn't kill the women. They took their ankle bracelets. They took their earrings. مَا نَالَ رَجُلًا مِّنْهُمْ كَلْمٌ وَلَا أُرِيقَ لَهُمْ دَمْ. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is shocked. He says, how is it possible that there were men in that village and they allowed these intruders to take jewelry from poor women? How did you allow them to escape unscathed? How did you not inflict damage upon them? How did you not shed the blood of these criminals? And then the Imam says, فَلَوْ أَنَّ امْرَأً مُسْلِمًا مَاتَ مِنْ بَعْدِ هَذَا أَسَفًا مَا كَانَ بِهِ مَلُومًا بَلْ كَانَ بِهِ عِنْدِي جَدِيرًا. Imam, he says, if a Muslim man were to hear about this story, that Muslim women and non-Muslim women had their private possessions confiscated. Imam says, if a man were to die of grief because of this oppression, I would not blame him. I would consider him to be an honorable man. A real man, what aggravates a real man more than anything is dhulm, is oppression. A real man, his top priority is to ensure that the marginalized, the weak, the vulnerable are not exploited. This is what should occupy your thoughts. This is what should matter to you. This is the mark of a real man. What matters to you is going to dictate the type of man that you are. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and to guide us and to illuminate our hearts with the teachings of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. I'd like to conclude by thanking the MYC for the gracious invitation. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed you to benefit from these brief talks. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases your tawfiq and makes us among the dedicated and sincere followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم أيها الحفل الكريم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نبارك لكم هذه المناسبة العطرة وهي ولادة مولانا أمير المؤمنين صلوات الله عليه. I would like to congratulate you all and like to congratulate the Imam of our time on this illuminated evening where we celebrate the birth of our master Ali ibn Abi Talib عليه السلام. لسلامتكم ولسلامة المولى صاحب العصر والزمان ارفعوا أصواتكم بالصلاة العاليات على محمد وآل محمد. يا آل بيت رسول الله يا آل بيت رسول الله حبكم فرض من الله في القرآن فرض من الله في القرآن أنزله كفاكم من عظيم الشأن أنكم كفاكم من عظيم الشأن أنكم من لم يصلي عليكم لا الصلاة له صلوات. أنا خطوتي الأولى علي، أنا خطوتي الأولى علي، درجات عشقي أرتقي نحو العلا. أنا خطوتي الأولى علي، درجات عشقي أرتقي نحو العلا. أبدا فما عثرت عليها أرجلي إن تسألي. أنا في الهوى أهوى علي، أنا سيرتي الأولى علي فتأملي. أنا من منى وتأملي إلا علي، أنا من دعا وتوسلي إلا علي. أنا من منى وتأملي إلا علي، أنا من دعا وتوسلي إلا علي. أنا من غنى وتبتلي إلا علي، أنا من رضا وتقبلي إلا علي. إن تسألي في نظرة الأولى علي، في نظرة الأولى علي، بل نبضة الأولى علي. والله في نظرة الأولى علي، في نبضة الأولى علي، بل إنني من عالم الأرواح كنت من العلي أهوى علي، أهوى علي يا علي صلوات. بالك لا تدق باب البشر، بالك لا تدق باب البشر، ما حد يفيدك. شنو؟ دق باب الأمير وقل له عدني من عبيدك. والله بالك لا تدق باب البشر، ما حد يفيدك. لا والله ما حد يفيد. دق باب الأمير وقل له عدني من عبيدك. لا تحاول أبد كل الطرق، لا ما تريدك. وبدرب الولي حدر علي ياخذ بإيدك. إني أسمع ما يلي. شنو؟ لا فتى إلا علي. يلا وياي. إني أسمع ما يلي. شنو؟ لا فتى. خادم بالك لا تدق باب البشر، ما حد يفيدك. دق باب الأمير وقل عدني من عبيدك. لا تحاول أبد كل الطرق، لا ما تريدك. وبدرب الولي حيدر علي ياخذ بإيدك. إني أسمع ما يلي. يلا وياي. لا فتى إلا أعلى شباب. إني أسمع ما يلي. لا فتى إلا. إني أسمع ما يلي. لا فتى يعني ما تربح إذا تتخذ غير ولي. لعنة على عدوك يا علي. يلا وياي. لعنة على عدوك. أعلى شباب. لعنة على عدوك. لعنة على عدوك يا علي صلوات. أكتب لك شعر وابعث وارد بي أقرب مولدك أنا وأرد بي بدرب النجف أمشي وارد بي واتعنى زيارتك واتعنى زيارتك حميل حمية صلوات. بارك الله فيكم شباب. أريد الكل يساعدني بالجواب الليلة. I want everyone to help me participate. Tonight we celebrate the birth of Amir al-Mu'mineen. I don't want anyone to not participate today. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. عشقت الغالي عشق للتالي علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. اسمعها مني. عشقت الغالي علي عشق للتالي علي عشقت الغالي عشق للتالي علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. You guys could do louder. MashaAllah. There's a lot of shabab tonight. I want everyone to participate. عشقت الغالي عشق للتالي علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. Raise your hands with me. عشقت الغالي علي عشقت الغالي clap. عشقت الغالي عشقت الغالي عشق للتالي علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي with me. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا يا علي. ليش ما اسمع صوت؟ علي مولانا علي مولانا يا علي علي يا علي مولانا علي. You guys could do louder. يا علي مولانا علي علي مولانا علي. louder شباب louder. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي. عشقتك يا علي من عالم الأرواح ربيت بحبك وبي العشق فواح ظلام الدنيا كلها وحبك المصباح التمسك بيك ينجو بالشدد ما طاح التمسك بيك ينجو بالشدد ما طاح. عشقت عيونه علي عشقت عيونه أموت بدونه علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. علي مولا وياي علي مولانا علي مولانا علي. إلك شباب. علي مولانا يا علي مولانا علي. لاورر شباب لاورر. علي مولانا علي علي مولانا علي. يا نفس المصطفى ويا حافظ اسراره علي ويا نور ربنا وانقى انصاره وصل هايد محمد قايم ادواره. اللي يبغضك يا علي ما تنفع اعذاره. يلا اللي يبغضك يا علي ما تنفع اعذاره. سكن وجداني علي سكن وجداني محمد ثاني سكن وجداني محمد ثاني. علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي. لور الشباب علي مولانا علي. علي مولانا علي. لور الشباب لور. علي مولانا علي مولانا. ما شاء الله. You guys could do better. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا. اجيتك بالغدير وقدمت قلبي. اجيتك بالغدير وقدمت قلبي. أبايع يا علي بإيماني وبحبي يا علي. أبايع يا علي بإيماني وبحبي. السجود بصحنك أسجد أشكر ربي. السجود بصحنك أسجد أشكر ربي. هداني للولاية وعرف الدربي. علي علي هداني للولاية وعرف الدربي. كلام الواحد كلام الواحد إمام القائد. كلام الواحد إمام القائد. علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره إلك. علي مولانا علي. علي مولانا علي. لور شباب علي مولانا علي مولانا علي. The شباب in the back, I don't hear your voice. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي. كريم لاورر. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا. حديث المصطفى بيوم الغدير اقرا. شنو حديث المصطفى بيوم الغدير اقرا. ألا من كنت مولاه علي مولاه. علي علي لا من كنت مولاه علي مولاه. ألا من كنت مولاه علي مولاه. وجوب بايعك بعد النبي معنا. يا بايع لك اجيت بعيدك وذكرى. الولاية باسمه علي ولاية باسمه. أمير الأمة علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا أعلى. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي لور شباب. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي بأمر رب الجلال نزلت الآية. على إيدي. بأمر رب الجلال نزلت الآية. على المختار طه وضح الغاية. بغدير الخم صعد على المنبر براية. بغدير الخم صعد على المنبر براية. يرفع ايد الامير وسولف حكاية. يلا رفع ايد الامير وسولف حكاية. شنو يا ناس اوصيكم علي يا ناس اوصيكم امير عليكم. يا ناس اوصيكم امير عليكم. علي ولا غيره علي ولا غيره. علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا علي مولانا. اسمعني اسمعني فدوة أروح لك. There can only be one Ali. The world cannot handle many. You weigh down the earth. فدوة أروح لك. اسمع هالكلام. I want everyone to pay attention to this poem. This poem was written by Nouri Sardar. Born in the Kaaba one only, and to Haydar Ali proudly, the Kaaba gave birth. The Kaaba cried out, finally comes the one that made me holy and gave me my worth. In him I can see so clearly, he is gold while his enemy is just dust and earth. ارفع ايدك, raise your hands with me. Born there was Ali, and only Ali. Born there was Ali, and only Ali. Ali, 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 my love is Ali. Ali, 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 my love is with me. Ali, 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 my love is Ali. Ali, 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 my love is. Listen. Fatima bint Asad had cried, oh Allah, I feel inside that he will be born. To her prayer, Allah replied, how? And she saw that the Ka'ba's side for her had been torn. In the Kaaba she would recite till within her loving arms light a precious newborn. The Kaaba Ali beautified, his birth became the Ka'ba's pride, and it was reborn. Raise your hands. And it was reborn. It loved you, Ali, like we love Ali. It loved you, Ali, like we love Ali. جاهز لولا. It loved you, Ali, like we love Ali. Ali, 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 my love is Ali. Ali, 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 my love is Ali, 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 Ali. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف وياي. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف علي 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 علي. كلمة علي بدرب العدل تهدينا، يوم الشدد من كل شدد يحمينا. منه الحفظ نهج الرسول ودينا، منه الخليفة من بعد هادينا. ما ندرك افكاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف وياي. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره علي 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 اعلى. علي 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 اعلى. علي 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 علي. بمن غدا يصلح هزار الوادي، المن نحب انا وهلي واجدادي. وانت يا شيعي بالشدد شت تنادي، من هو الذي بات بمكان الهادي؟ يلا يا هذا الحفظ جاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره اعلى. رب العلا اختاره علي 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 اعلى. علي 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 علي. شباب you guys can do louder. علي 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 louder. علي 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 علي. نحكي الحقيقة وهذا بيني وبينك. انت يا مؤمن منه قرة عينك، منه الذي ثبت قواعد دينك، منه الذي نور ظلام سنينك. ما تقطع انواره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. رب العلا اختاره ما نعرف اسراره. لا عذب الله امي انها شربت. لا عذب الله أمي إنها شربت حب الوصي وغذتني باللبن. وكان لي والد وكان لي والد يهوى أبا حسني، فصرت من ذي وذا، فصرت من ذي وذا، فصرت من ذي وذا أهوى أبا حسن صلوات. أسعد الله أيامنا وأيامكم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها يا الله، اكشف عنا السوء يا الله، شافي وعافي كل مريض يا الله، اقضي حوائجنا يا الله. إلهي عجل لوليك الفرج، واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه وتحت لوائه. إلهي إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات ومن مات على ولاية مولانا أمير المؤمنين، خصوصا خدمة المولى أبي عبد الله الحسين، نهدي لهم جميعا ثواب السورة المباركة الفاتحة، تسبقها الصلاة العاليات على محمد وآل محمد.